Hello and welcome back to Industriegigant 2, and when we last left off, we continued with our missions in the easy campaign, although we aren't quite done here yet because we still have to proceed with the rest of the mission. I think we have met the target by about 50% right, so I guess we are going to be pretty busy today, won't we? Most likely. But to refresh our memory, what do we actually have on the map right now? Yeah, that's nice and all, but in the moment we don't have any access to agriculture, of course. Alright, I believe the last thing we did was to set up this production chain of tissue paper, didn't we? I do remember that, right? So, okay, what's the situation right now? So we have 8.3 million out of 20. Okay, that's going to take some effort here, presumably. But at least they give us plenty of time in this mission. So they are set, of course. I guess since we already know that the towns are very small, there isn't much we can do here right now, right? And we also need to save up some money. I think we need about 1 million or something here to finance the next industry, whatever that could be. As we find out eventually, right? At the moment our ships need to be on their merry way, of course. Slowly, of course, relatively speaking. Is there anything else we could sell in this household store, for instance, with the items already at our disposal? I suppose we can set up some plastic deliveries with these cleaning supplies, disposable cups and so on and so forth. That's certainly worth considering. We do have some dino juice deposits on the map here, I'm sure, right? Yeah, over here someplace to the north. I think that's actually the north, right? Because it's an isometric perspective, despite the 3D engine. Interesting how this works. Yeah, interesting how this works, right? Okay, I think it could be a good idea. We can supply the entirety of the map, no problem whatsoever. And over here we don't even have any household stores just about right now. Don't think we do. Back here we're looking at some... Yeah, what is that here? Rodeo? Of course we could give some buildings into the towns, but it's not really necessary, right? So apparently over here we have to make a choice between aluminium and steel. Okay, of course aluminium is not a factor in this mission since there's no item that uses it. Okay, there's some dino juice, that's always good. Plenty of copper over here and some steel. Okay, goodie, but we cannot make any washing machines, otherwise I may consider that. Yeah, once again, we have that here, we have that here, and we have that here. So we could have plastic, copper wire, and some steel, but of course we cannot make ourselves some washing machines, right? I also contemplated sending some items this way, didn't I? But what can we possibly pick up on the return trip? Like it all. Otherwise it would be way too long of a road here. And we cannot build a bridge, of course it would have to be by ship. But certainly would be worthwhile, you know, overall I would think. But only if you can pick up something on the return trip to sell. And what could that possibly be? We are not passing by any dino juice deposits by chance, right? Not really. I suppose it wouldn't have to be a household item. You can also go with something else, of course, if you wanted to. Yeah, no dino juice over here, of course. So all the items are ruled out immediately, and the other items we already do supply. So this doesn't work, of course, unfortunately so. Yeah, but what else is there on offer? We do have some wood, of course. Quartz sand, we're already doing that, right? Some steel. What can we make happen with just steel, you know? Let's just find out here. Anything, maybe? I suppose we can try to sell some toys along here. Yeah, on the side, so to speak. Jack in the box. Okay, surely that's possible. High-grade steel for some wind-up locomotives. They look really old-fashioned. Looks like from the Victorian era, really. Okay. The new items, of course, just require plastic, as you would think. So that's the problem here, of course, since there is no dino juice on this side of the map. Yeah, it does need steel and wood, of course. So there's an option maybe for furniture deliveries. Then again, the demand is absolutely tiny across the board. You can obviously see that just by looking at the statistics back here. Household items, and we also have the hardware store. Yeah, the garden gnome. And that's actually used for aluminium. I spoke too soon. The aluminium letter. We can also make us some grills here for the summer season. Wooden boards and steel shouldn't be too hard to procure, wouldn't you think? Maybe that's that option. Some sporting goods, but the demand is like 0 essentially. But everyone needs some tools eventually, right? Wouldn't you think? That could be an option, maybe. Interesting thought there. And that wäre für the first mainline diesel. What's with the, storm in the background? Because it's the end of the line for steam locomotives, I guess. Something like that. Yes, these do exist, of course. Yeah, especially in the United States. Okay, so interesting. Interesting indeed. I think we can make this happen, but for now we need to, of course, save up some money here to set in the requisite facilities. I think we can start some deliveries and afterwards adjust our orders. I think it's not too terrible here. Deliveries won't be super frequent anyhow. Yeah, what's the demand anyway? It's minuscule. So one delivery will be sufficient for the entirety of the year, essentially, right? I would think. Yeah, and then one ship ought to be plenty for this for now. What was the demand again here? It takes us probably at least a couple of months to arrive. Most likely, right? So maybe 5 bottles, as a starting point. Something like that. Okay. We'll be arriving super frequently anyhow, but as you can see, this is already too small, so why don't we use a different dock for this? There is no restriction or anything like this. Should work just fine, just to make sure we don't hold up traffic or anything like this. That should probably last us right for quite some time here. Maybe increase the rate of production ever so slightly if we can squeeze this in here somewhere and somehow. It's okay. Yeah, at the moment it's on the back burner, right? I do remember that. Maybe slightly faster would be a good idea. So what are we waiting on? For the most part appears to be cutlery, which of course I just adjusted here. But we simply cannot sell a whole lot of the stuff here, that's the problem. Well, I sure hope it will give us the desired balance here, right? We need to make some money, of course. So then we try to pick up some items on the return trip. We can call over here, of course. So we needed some steel for this and we have some wood back here. But that shouldn't be too difficult. Utilize the other side of the island. Yeah, I think this is not going to last very long here, right, with the forest in the area. So we try that, I guess, right? Okay, we start with the outlets first, just in case we need to change our mind or anything like this. So the hardware store. And we're only going to deliver it over here on the return trip to sell some items on the side, something like that, right? Because the demand should be at least somewhat acceptable. Okay, I wouldn't really call it acceptable. We can also sell some wooden boards on the side if we absolutely needed to. So the demand is terrible, unsurprisingly. I really would think it is terrible, but okay. Well, the advantage is if we put this on the other side of the shore, we can use some trucks, you know. That could be a smarter play because we only need steel and some wood for that. There's no whole lot of woodland around here, but it could be working regardless. And some of these items do need high-grade steel, incidentally. Yeah, there's no road bridge opportunity on this island, unfortunately so. Okay, I guess we tried it, but of course we also have to increase the size of the storage pile here for the different items, of course. Yeah, I think it's fine, right? Okay. Wooden boards we can certainly sell directly, but the profit margin is essentially non-existent. Everyone needs tools, so these require steel and wood, of course. And with the excess wood, we can sell some boards because there will be a sawmill over there anyhow. Wallpaper, I think we need some other materials for that coming out of the paper mill. And there simply ain't enough woodland around here for easy deliveries of that stuff. Watering can needs plastic, this needs high-grade steel, so I guess we start small for now. I think it's a better idea. The excess we can certainly cut out to Bar Town, you know, something like that. Or even just Pennyville. Okay, we're taking an interesting path. Yeah, I see my friend. But the return trip angle really needs to be adjusted here, of course. But also let's just see what the Lumberjack can give us here. Probably not a whole lot. 1000 something, that's hardly confusing, frankly. Something I was kind of afraid of. Yeah, okay. Maybe the island is more appealing after all. Not by a huge margin, surprisingly. Yeah, come to think of it, this is actually aluminium, right? Over here we have some steel and copper. I mean, our ships can go all the way around, but it would be super inefficient, of course. But I don't want to be too indecisive, you know. So I guess we'll make ourselves some aluminium letters here as well. I guess we can try that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's aluminium, right? Okay. Over here we have some steel. Doesn't need to be a super upscale operation. We are only servicing like 2 stores at the most. And try to preserve some of the forest around here because there isn't a lot of forest around here to begin with. Yeah, so we can get the most important bits in the catchment area, and the docklands, they come over here, I guess, something like that. Okay, I don't think the Lumberjack can access this area over here anyway. That seems unlikely. So of course, need to leave some room for factories and whatnot. Where we're going to store these boards? Over here, possibly, right? Yeah, no deliveries in this angle, please. Okay, and this is only for... yeah, it's only for wood then, I suppose, right? For the raw materials. Seems a bit excessive, there we go. Or we just also put in some aluminium in here. For the factory to grab. I think it's not a terrible idea. Yeah, we need to set this up properly, of course. It's bauxite. Okay, so aluminium, of course, is the processed product. Of course, it does make some sense when you think about it. So, deliver items to this, please. Thank you very much. Don't forget to confirm our orders, otherwise it would be difficult here, right? Too far away, of course. Okay, we need to map this out properly, otherwise we have plenty of problems here, right? Also, don't forget about the docklands, which of course should be in the catchment area. Make it slightly larger though, this time around. Though it's double the price in both ways. So I'd rather not, you know. Okay, that should be fine. Then we slap in some repair stuff here just in case it turns out to be a good idea. Yeah, okay, we need the, of course, the hardware industry here somewhere. Yeah, we want to manufacture a couple of different items, of course. Okay, let's just see what we want to do here. Aluminium letters, of course, because there, of course, also need to steal me for this, why don't we? So it never ends in this game, essentially. At least it's only one item. Wallpaper needs 2 rolls of paper. Can we even sell this many? I don't think we can, right? Yeah, this gets pretty complex and pretty quickly, as you can tell, evidently. Extremely quickly. Alright. I guess we see what we can do here. Aluminium is, of course, one of those more expensive things to, yeah, process here, of course. And, okay, the groupie, I think it was called. I think it was based on a Boeing 377, wasn't it? Yeah, something like that. It should tell us here, of course. The Guppy, not the Groupie, I'm sorry. But I think the designation is still the Boeing 377 Stratocruiser, which became completely obsolete by the introduction of turboprop and then jet airliners. Yeah, of course, its performance leaves a much to be desired, which is why this thing was highly specialized in real life. But it can carry 16 items, so there's that, of course. Jesus Christ, man, this game is super complex, right? Okay, so we have the leather angle covered, so then we also make ourselves some tools here, so we need another steel box, of course, which is too pricey right now. Okay, so that's what I was kind of afraid of, and the target, of course, is still ways off. How are we getting there? Yeah, it's going to be pretty pricey. I suppose we could start to sell some letters here right away. Maybe we could do that. Okay, surely it's conceivable. Okay, well, I suppose we can try that. So there's our lovely little coaster. Yeah, so dump it over here and then we pick up some miscellaneous items and then dump them in here, right? Presumably. Seems like a smart idea, I'm hoping. Yeah, how many letters can we pick up? Realistically speaking, I'm not sure. Maybe only one ship will be necessary for this, and if the case, it's also a good idea we sell some items over there as well. At the moment we can, of course, always append our orders if it's necessary. For now, we just try to pick up a couple of these here, right? Okay, so that means we can keep this on the low burner here, at least for a little bit. Yeah, 3 maybe, right? Something like that. That's going to be very busy stock by here, unsurprisingly, right? Okay, what do we need to store in here? Some boards, I think, right? And certainly some iron ore. I know this look already processed, right? Wouldn't you think? Strange how it works. Yes, some wooden boards as well. We do need this, of course. Yeah, well, it's not easy, as you can tell. It gets pretty convoluted really quickly. And then maybe one for each here. Something like that. Yeah, there's a blanket here for every single bit. Okay, I hope that's good enough, right? So we can start this here on a very low production. Not 12.5 because it's way too much, of course. It's hardly worth using here, frankly, but there we go, we have it. And we can also start selling some wooden boards here, right? Maybe. I should have enough to set up the tool production now, but not quite. I guess not really, right? Okay, how many boards do they want? On the whole, I would figure it's a pretty basic item. Yeah, well, a couple we can sell, of course, no problem. Yeah, we also need some leftover for the production of these tools, don't we? Okay, so maybe try that here. What can we get off the deal? About an even ratio, I think I like that. That's what I meant here. This is a pretty complex game, of course. Need to be careful about this. Of course, this is too far away. Unsurprisingly wide. That's what I thought. Now it should be humming along, I'm hoping. Yeah, eventually we're going to get there. Just take some time for everything to spool up, of course. Okay, with the excess money we need, of course, a steel mill as well as another of those industries. Okay, the Pathfinder, of course, can only operate in 90-degree turns. So what gives, I guess, but at least it's somewhat reliable. We don't need any buoys or anything in between. So that's nice. Maybe try to preserve the forest in case we need to funnel in more materials. They can also overbuild this, of course, but then again, we're losing access to these items. I don't think there's any use for copper on this particular map here at this mission, but still. Doesn't hurt to keep this in mind, of course. So, some tools is our goal here, right? So 4, we can certainly sell that medi. It's getting really complex here, I'm sorry. It's good mental exercise though. Now we should be able to pick up some tools here on the return trip. I hope at least. And that's one ship already completely filled to the brim, hopefully. So we're not going over here all empty all the time, we know. But I think it should hum along pretty nicely. And the access we can just sell on the shorter route. I think it's feasible. There should be some demand for this, I'm thinking. Also make sure the stockpile doesn't end up completely overwhelming. Or we just clone the ship here incidentally, right? Do we wait until full? Should we? I'm not sure. But I think 2 vehicles can be servicing this line. And by the way, if we clone vehicles, we already put them, I should say we always put them at the first entry in the time schedule, I believe. Every single time, something like that. But there's no auto spacing in this game, of course. That's the sound of a diesel coaster, I guess. Okay. 2 ships on this line hopefully should be enough to cut out all the access here. But we have to keep an eye on this, of course, over time. And we're also getting here, as it turns out, even better. I don't think it's going to be giving us the big bucks here, so maybe we can funnel in something else from relatively close by. I do see some iron over here. But of course we cannot make anything happen in this tiny town here. Would have to be a wood angle, of course, with the paper mill and everything. I'll just go for the dino juice, but they specifically warned us about land-free transportation links in this particular mission. We ought to be smart about this, they said. Are we smart about this? Well, I sure hope so. Maybe we actually need 3 ships on this line. I guess you can always change the orders later on. Ships aren't known to be super fast, of course. So this town is growing a little bit, as you can see. So this may be not terrible. We can certainly sell some basic wooden products in this area. If we can make this happen somehow. Bookstore, for instance, most of the stuff is based around wood, as you would think. We can sell 3 rolls of paper, for instance. So there should be... Yeah, that's a good idea. I think we may try that. And this one will be without any transportation links, I'm thinking. Yeah, we want to sell some paper directly, you know, as well. Could be interesting. Apparently we don't want to have the logging camp here, interesting enough. Ah, I wonder why that is. But no problem. Over here there should be plenty of space available. Also should last us for the rest of the mission, I'm hoping. Of course we cannot sell the wooden boards directly in here, but we can build a hardware store. If it's a good idea, who knows, we'll see about that. For some paper mills, yeah, I want to sell some paper, of course. Now it's too pricey, it's 440,000. So we cannot do it, of course. With the hardware store, well, we can sell some wooden boards in here, I guess. Also go for some wallpaper. That's not a terrible idea, wouldn't you think? Just to make sure we can get some money here before anything else. Yeah, later on we can increase the rate of production. And the more we want to sell some items, of course. Indoor won't be super profitable, but here's hoping. But the stockpile keeps increasing. About our ships that will, of course, eventually space out a little bit. I'm hoping. Just take some time, of course, since the bottleneck will be over here, or we have to slow down the rate of production ever so slightly. I'm not too sure yet. But our ships certainly don't arrive very frequently, I can see that. Yeah, we can only load one item at a time. And we see how it goes. But I think the rate of production is just ever too slightly too fast, despite the ratio of 3 only. But then again, we have to wait and see. There will just fill up the entire stockpile. At least the one pip I allocated to that stuff. And that won't over-deliver anyhow. But it's certainly very inefficient by all considerations. But I think it does make us at least a little bit of money, which is good. Alright, I hope that will give us a good starting point. Of course, we don't really manufacture sawdust specifically, it's a byproduct of the industry. It's also unwanted for the most part and also dangerous. Ever heard of sawdust explosions, stuff like this? It's also a health hazard incidentally to the employees if not managed properly. Yeah, I suppose we need one additional ship just carting the stuff over here. That seems pretty likely. Yeah, it's not fantastic, but we should be able to get rid of some excess over here. Yeah, I hope at least. Doesn't need to be overwhelming anything in between. Just one ship going back and forth with some items to sell. Also over here it's a little overwhelming already. I don't want to send additional ships on this line because we cannot possibly grab more items or sell them over here in bulk. It's not to this degree. Ain't working like that, right? Okay, so 4 boards here and the rest of the items we're making locally. Pushcart, yes, we call it a wheelbarrow in real life. I think at least, right? I'm sorry. There are some translation problems in this game, of course, and it's very hard not to notice them. Alright, I should hope it's an relatively acceptable situation here, yes. Yeah, this is of course the wrong item. I'm sorry. We need to process product, of course. Yeah, we have it. Thankfully, we notice our problems before they become a problem indeed, right? Or a massive issue for that matter. Okay, so the ship is on its merry way. Hopefully it's good enough. And back here, we can make something happen with the excess paper, of course. Some newspapers, for instance. Because as nice as it is, it doesn't make us the big bucks, of course. As you would think. So, what's the verdict here on the product help for that matter? Yeah, we already know this requires some sawdust, of course. Yeah, there's the use for paper, and some cardboard, which of course is another item we have to get as an intermediate product, so it never ends in this game. It is in paper and cardboard. Or paper. So there's a shortage of use cases for this item. Gambling pieces come out of the toy industry, by the way. Interesting cover there on this book. Unfortunately, I cannot see it. Huh. Interesting. Okay, also needs paper, of course. Everything needs paper, apparently. Yes, it's nice and all, but what about the shop back here? Could sell some wallpaper, of course. Plenty of wallpaper, actually. That may not be a terrible idea. Why don't we give us a spin? Alright, so some wallpaper it is for us then. Since we already have the matching store and everything. Yeah, we can double this, no problem whatsoever. Also over here, I think. So of course now we need more wood over here as well. As you would think, it never ends in this game, it really never does. If you change one thing, you have to adjust the ratios of every single other store. But once everything is set up, it should be humming along quite nicely, I'm hoping. Which means we're going to earn more money, most importantly. And we are still 5 million away, but it's certainly good practice here for the rest of the campaigns. But I haven't quite decided yet which ones I want to replay for that matter. Probably not the hard campaign, because there were some real terrible missions in there, frankly. Downright unfair even, one might say. Yeah, comics, okay, these are comics, not just plain books, how fancy. Yeah, we probably do want to produce some of them. The printing press, which apparently has a bad influence on the city. Whatever. Back here we go for adjacency bonuses with the other industry here, presumably. This is of course too far away. This, on the other hand, could work, right? So comic books means we need more paper, of course. So 10, okay, 10 full speed ahead on both of these. I think we should have an even, not quite an even ratio, but it should work relatively well. Also more wood here, of course. Of course, yeah, before I get too eager here, let's just also step some of the requisite structures. So we want to sell some comic books, of course. And we have a new electric locomotive. Not that we are going to use it in this mission, of course. Looks boxy because it's 1969. Okay, General Electric E44 apparently. 6,000 electric horsepower. Fancy. Okay, we can only sell 2, I see. Ah, fantastic. Not a problem. We can finance a different industry, I'm hoping. Or close to it. Comic books have a surprisingly larger profit margin because they are collectibles, I guess. Does make some sense if you think about it. And they only want 2 newspapers per month. Okay, then bad for them. Good for us, I guess. Unfortunately, we can once again only manufacture 1 type of item per facility, even if the production rate is extremely low. But that's just the nature of the game, of course. At least I'm making something happen with that paper. Once again, it turns out to be impossible to achieve the proper ratio. Great. Okay, then we make 2.5 and lower the prices a tiny bit by chance, something like that. But of course, there are no increments, it's just, no, so cannot make it happen apparently. Alright, it's a bit awkward here to put it mildly, but it does work, of course. Just double checking our stockpiles are holding up. And what are we waiting for? It's the tissue paper now. Of course, it's always something. I like what we have achieved in this mission. It wasn't relaxing by any stretch of the imagination, but it wasn't too hectic either. That's good, right? So we can plan our setup here pretty evenly and also carefully, because as you can see, there's lots of potential for small and big mistakes in this game. Plenty of those, and all of them we learned the hard way in the first season, which is why I don't want to repeat them ideally. That would be swell. Yeah, I think we can just relax a little bit here and slap in a couple more industries based around the paper angle presumably. So what else could they want? I don't want to go for cardboard, you know, but maybe some gift wrapping, I think. Yeah, only demand in winter, of course. We need to build up a stockpile. Or we can make some posters, I guess. Posters also use paper, why don't they? Yeah, paper. Good planning gets you quite some distance here, right? Isn't it fantastic? Yeah, we have a shortage of paper, I think, already. Unsurprisingly. Yeah, 13 point something bad, so that ain't enough here. Nope. Well, adjacency bonuses do increase this, of course, but only to a certain degree. This also needs to be improved here ever so slightly, which means, of course, we also need more production over here, so it never ends in this game. It doesn't, right? Okay, so another 5, and this is now 15. So we also need more wood, of course, so 20. I guess it should be fine, at least for now. Yeah, so things spiral out of control in this game here pretty often, pretty frequently. At least it seems to be humming along, which is something I like to see. But you have to make sure, because otherwise we cannot leave these facilities unattended for too long. And our town should be increasing in size, or at least in density over time. Right? Yeah, this is only very small scale anyhow in terms of production. Yeah, only 200 something remaining here, so as you can see, it's going to run out pretty shortly. And I think we have to keep in mind, of course. But no problem. Yeah, we're going full speed apparently. That would explain the deforestation. This one we just scrap here because it's useless already. Trees don't regrow over the course of the mission? I don't think so. Despite the time progressing relatively speedily. Skateboards, it must be a new item. Needs wooden boards, so that's another angle for the toy industry. Although it comes from the sporting goods industry, of course. How true is that? I'm not sure. Of course, I wouldn't know anything about skateboards in their history, nothing. So, what gives I guess? Of course, it was in 2002 when they wrote this description. It may have changed, presumably. Yeah, unfortunately, we can no longer indulge in advertisement, I think, right? This has been removed, unfortunately, so. Too bad. Garden Gnome is my ass, man. I don't think we will. No Garden Gnomes for us today, please. Yeah, okay, 2 more million here. That should be achievable within this year, I presume. Yeah, pretty nice. And as you can see, our ships have started to auto-separate a little bit. Even though there is no such function in the game, of course. Much to my dismay, because it does make some sense even with freight deliveries. Because you don't want to utilize the weight on the full order all the time. So it does come in handy on multiple occasions, you know. Especially in OpenTDD. Which of course is a much more modern game by all comparisons, thankfully. And also courtesy of the community working on these updates. Okay, I suppose it's when we first set down this stuff here and then went from there. Yeah, our inventory does have a value in this game. It doesn't age, right? Because everything is refrigerated and weather protected. How nice is that? Do we have to pay for the asphalt road? I mean, if we pay for it ourselves, apparently we do. This time around we built them separately, didn't we? I suppose we can just look at the value and then improve some roads and see if the value actually changes or not. I would suppose it does, but then again we don't know for certain, because technically this is a county road or a city street. Even if you do pave it, you shouldn't have to pay for the maintenance afterwards. Right? Wouldn't you think? But I wouldn't be surprised if this was the case regardless. So there we have it. Investment costs. Okay, does make some sense. Operating costs. Our biggest expenditure is the processing of raw materials, followed by the transportation costs. So yeah, that's what I meant. Local stockpiles without any transportation costs involved is the ultimate ideal in this game for the most part. Yeah, let's just see about the items, because the furniture store being in top spot does make some sense, because it was the very first industrial chain we did set up, of course. And it's tied between wooden furniture and picture frames. Goodie. And the hardware store, the leading product is the aluminium leather, surprisingly. Ah, interesting. Of course, the wallpaper came much later together with wooden boards. Then we have some household items. These are also tied for the most part, surprisingly. That's interesting, because we are delivering them at equal ratios, because cutlery is worth more than glass bottles and especially tissue paper. But through coincidence, they do end up the same for the most part, which is odd. Surely. we didn't plan for that. Yeah, comics, of course, are the leading product back here because it's a collectible and people do pay premiums for those, especially for limited editions, right? Yeah, something like that. Okay, interesting. No luxury points. I suppose we could set down some of those if we wanted to. And there's a new truck available, even though we're not going to use it, of course. Looks pretty old-fashioned for something introduced in 1970. There we have it. They do have a nice animation for winning every single campaign, even though we technically failed our very first mission. Technically. Oh, fantastic, since there's no need to retrace familiar ground, so I suppose that will be the end for this recording session, won't it be? But otherwise, I thank you for watching as usual, and I hope to see you next time.